And it's great to be here, everybody. And, we did a little talk this afternoon on the Facebook. We did a Facebook Live and we talked about this subject. And why not? Let's just keep going with it. Four basic points that you want to hold on to. Four basic things that you want to keep focused in your mind. We're all driven by three basic motivations, though. Let's cover that first. The three basic motivations is we all want to look good, we all want to feel good, and we all want to be good. Now, the challenge that we all have is weighing that out. Most people are ego driven. That's in other words, they want to look good. Another thing a lot of people do, and it makes sense, they're also driven by how they feel. They want to feel good. The hardest thing and the biggest challenge a lot of people have is they want to be good. Now, when you think about being good, does that mean you behave and you're a friendly, nice person? Yeah, that's part of it. But the other part of it is you want to be good at what you're doing. You want to be successful at what you're doing. And there's four things you could focus on, real simple, that can make it real easy for you to understand what you should be focusing on. Four simple things. Years ago, I spoke to a young lady. She had a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of energy, and we decided every time we get together and talk to each other, we'd ask how these four things were doing. And we said we're going to rate them from a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, meaning that you're the most satisfied with that activity that you're involved in. The first activity, which is very simple, very powerful, is what do you spend most of your time doing? What is it that you spend? They say if you want to start a conversation with anybody, you don't know them, you can ask them something. Instead of what do you do for a living, this and that, you say, what do you spend most of your time doing? And a person would have to think about it for a couple of minutes and say, well, wait a minute, what do I do most often? Well, I work. Okay, you work. Anybody work how many hours? 10 hours, 7 hours, whatever, a day, right? Well, how would you rate that activity? How would you rate your feeling about how you feel after doing that on a day-to-day basis, or while you're doing it? Would you give it? What would you give it? A 1, which means you hate it, or would you give it a 10, where you can you're so excited you can't stand it, so wonderful? Which one is it? Most people are going to fall probably somewhere in the middle. But you know what? That 7 number is what you're looking for. You want to be north of 7. And that's where you want to be for all four of these topics we're going to talk about. Four of these basic points you want to focus on. The most important thing you want to do, though, is you want to make sure you understand why you're giving those numbers. What is it that goes into your evaluation to give it a 7, to give it a 5, to give it a 4? Whatever it is, you want to focus in on it. Yeah, here's another thing that's a great idea to do, just in case you can't find somebody to tell people what your number is and this and that. At the end of every day, have a huddle with yourself and say, how did we do today? How did everything work out? We laid these plans down. We were going to do all this and that. Did we do them? And what are we going to do tomorrow to make sure that whatever challenges we had today, we can eliminate or we can work with? Those are four. That's a very, very fundamental thing that everyone can work on. Have the huddle at the end of the night, the huddle at the end of the day, whatever. Just make sure you meet up with yourself and say, how do we do? Because when you start focusing on a daily number of how you're doing with those four things we're talking about, you start seeing the picture of yourself. You start seeing a picture of another person if you're, brave enough to ask them. The other thing, real simple, they call it cash flow. Okay, how is it going with that? What do you have enough money to buy what you have to buy? Are you receiving that? Are you fashioning the lifestyle that you want? That's the question you really ask yourself with cash flow. It's not so much about just paying the bills to barely get by. Is that the life you want to live? Is this how you want to live your life in terms of what the money can do for you? You see, when I talked to this young lady, we talked about this. We talked about it from a standpoint of number one, how's work going? Number two was Are you, do you have enough money? Do you feel satisfied? Is everything working out okay? Do you see a big income rise coming for you? Are you ready for it? Anything that was going on, you wanted to know where you felt about it. So you throw a number on it. Maybe it's a 5, maybe it's a 7. Who knows? But that's the number you get. So at the end of the day, when you make a decision how you're doing, that number you splash down. Here's another thing to consider too. We don't live life on a flat surface. We live life on a hill. Either we're going forward or we're falling back. Keep that in mind when you're looking at your numbers every day. You're going to meet up with a lot of challenges. That might force you to fall back a little bit. But the question is, are you going to come back? Are you going to bounce back? That's really what determines what type of vantage point you're looking at with your life. Number 3 is a real simple topic and real basic, but it's very, very powerful. If you look at what's going on, the first thing we had, number 1, was how you spend your time. Number 3 was basically, what are you doing? What are you doing when it comes down to learning? How are you making yourself a better student of your life? How quick are you adapting to what you're learning, to what you're doing? We go through 3 simple phases. We think, we talk, and we do. Well, how's it going? How's the learning coming? Are you catching on to a few things? Are you adapting what you learn? Understand this about learning. When someone tries to teach you something, it's based on what they know and they're giving it to you. But it's up to you to decide what they're telling you, find out if it's true and you really buy into it and you understand it before you can start applying that. The educational system is the educational system. You didn't build it. Somebody else built it. And you have to find out why they built it that way and what are they really trying to teach you. And can you use it? And how can you use it? Use your imagination. Maybe you want to learn how to hang up a picture on the wall. That's good. Maybe someday you will hang a picture on the wall. You want to know that. But if they want to show you how to put a roof on a house, you might not ever do that. You want to know if that's something you want to spend that much time on. That's part of learning. Learn how to learn. That's the concept right there. How's teaching doing? How's your education doing? That was the third question. Scale of 1 to 10. Is it doing what you want it to do for you? Number 4, and this is a basic question you can ask anybody. And this also goes back to another concept we could throw at you. We're not out of time, but you could throw this concept out. When someone is asked how happy you are, what's your happy meter? In other words, your happiness level overall, where do you think it is right now? 1 through 10, 10 being the highest, of course, 1 being the lowest. If you're down in the dumps, things aren't working out right, you probably barely give it a 3. But if things are working out good for you, maybe you're happy. Maybe you can give yourself a 7 through 10. Who knows? But here's a question I asked one other young lady once. And it was a situation where a gentleman was trying to think of something to say to her. And I was much older, and this was a younger gentleman with a younger lady. And I said, well, here's a question you can always ask her. Where's your happy meter? So that way you can understand what their mindset is at that point in time. And then whatever number they came up with, what do we need to do to get it to the highest number? Just like you. What, are you happy? Are you happy? Do you feel good about what's going on? Okay, you're at a 5. What can we do to get it to a 7, an 8, a 9, a 10? What you will learn about yourself, if you want to ask yourself that question, or somebody else, is what they're thinking about. How they feel about what they're thinking about is going to determine their attitude. So remember, the most important thing you can do is you can focus on being good. Always understand your life on a hill, and you're either going forward or going back. Always great talking to you. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I really appreciate your time.